Hi, my name's Mandy. I'm a teacher at LEYF, and today I'm going to talk to you about promoting positive eating habits with your child. Now, it's quite common for parents to worry about their child's food intake, particularly if you had a child who was once an enthusiastic eater and all of a sudden stops eating food they've always loved, or seem less inclined to eat food offered to them, or there seems to have been a decrease in their appetite. The first thing to say is please don't worry. That's quite normal behaviour for young children, particularly toddlers, and for most children it is just a phase that they'll grow out of. But in the meantime, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the possible reasons for this and some of the things you can do to help tackle this and to motivate your child to eat their meals. So there are several reasons that a young child can all of a sudden seem to have an apparent disinterest in food. One of these can be related to their growth rates. So if a child is going through a growth spurt, then they'll be naturally inclined to eat more, and if they're not, they can be naturally inclined to eat less. So at the end of the first year of a child's life, their growth rate does naturally slow down, and sometimes that does result in a decrease in appetite, and that's nothing to worry about. It's completely normal. Another reason for a lack of interest in food can be part of a more wider behaviour pattern. So as children grow and become more independent, they sometimes become less cooperative in other areas too. So, for example, you might find your child being all of a sudden more reluctant to put their shoes on when you ask them to, or to get dressed when you ask them to. So refusing food can be a way, particularly in the toddler years, of inserting themselves as it gives them a sense of control. And the last one can be that being a toddler is so exciting, and children at that age are constantly exploring new activities and learning new skills, and this sometimes means that they don't want to stop what they're doing to eat their food. So it can be simply that they'd rather be doing something else than eating. So the first thing to say is please don't overthink what your child eats in the course of one day, and it can be sometimes helpful to consider what they're eating throughout the whole week. So if they're eating food from the main food groups, so fruit and vegetables, starchy carbohydrates, dairy or dairy alternatives, and a wide range of protein sources, if they're gaining weight as expected, they're energetic and active, they don't seem lethargic and they're not losing weight, then please don't worry too much. It's always good to offer your child a varied diet throughout the day, with limited healthy snacks. So good snacks can be things like vegetable sticks, but try not to give too many of these, because what can sometimes happen is that your child will eat so many snacks that they're just simply not hungry at meal times. And another thing to consider is your child's fluid intake. So if they drink a lot of milk throughout the day, they might not feel hungry at dinner time and might not have any room left for food. If you are worried about your child's fluid intake, or they do seem particularly thirsty, then please do see your GP or health visitor and they'll be able to advise you further on this. Something else you can also do is slowly introduce and reintroduce foods. So very young children's taste buds and tastes change very rapidly. So if they haven't liked something the first time you've offered it, or even the second time you've offered it, it doesn't mean they won't ever eat it. So do keep persevering and try. The last thing to do is be patient and don't show your child your concern, because this can turn food into a bit of a battleground, but that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. So some things you can do to support your child's eating is to have a routine where you offer them 3 meals a day with a minimal amount of healthy snacks in between, and only offer them healthy foods. So very young children don't know about sugary foods such as crisps and chocolate until enough adult offers these to them. And the longer they don't know about these, the better. Something else you should also always do is make meal times fun. And I know this is really hard if you're worried about your child's eating habits, but eating the same food at the same time makes mealtimes an enjoyable and sociable experience and is much more fun for the child. Another thing you can do is ask for a spoonful of your child's food and then offer them a bit of yours. And show your enjoyment of theirs by saying, oh, this is yummy, this is delicious, and smiling at them, because this can boost their confidence in the food that they're eating. Something else you can try is inviting their friends around for meals. So feedback that we often get at nursery is that children will eat food at nursery that they won't eat at home. And part of that can be the fact that they're sitting down and eating with other children. So children will often accept new foods if they're eating with other children that they wouldn't necessarily if eating alone. So something else you can do, if your child will only eat a few foods, then build on these. So for example, if your child will only eat pasta, you could make them a tuna pasta bake, or you can make them a spaghetti bolognese, and that way you're introducing new foods by building on foods you know that they're happy to eat. If they do suddenly go off something they've previously eaten, please don't worry too much. What you can do is remove that from their diet and reintroduce it again at a later date. Also, encourage your child to feed themselves. It might be messy and you might want to lay some plastic down on your carpet, but doing so will help them to feel more in control of meal times. And this can be particularly helpful if your child is going through a completely normal phase of development where they do feel the need to assert their control. So giving some of that control back to them can make them more inclined to eat at meal times. And another way to give some of that control back to the child is to offer them choices at meal times. So restrict the options to 2, because any more of that than that can be a little bit overwhelming. And do make sure the options that you offer are feasible. But again, this can help them to feel a little bit more in control of the mealtime process. Something that's really important is to try not to make eating a battleground. So offering your child gentle encouragement to try new foods, but don't apply too much pressure on them, as this can result in a battle of wills, and we all know most 2-year-olds are very strong-willed. And also, if you're anxious and tense, your child will pick up on this, and that could escalate any mealtime difficulties. So if your child doesn't eat, don't make a fuss, just simply take the plate away from them and don't make any comment once they've finished. Another way to support your child to develop positive eating habits is to get them involved in choosing and preparing meals. So this will often motivate them to eat with you, and there are several easy ways to do this. So one of which is supporting your child to grow their own vegetables, which is very easy to do. It's a great activity for the whole family, and it also helps children to learn where food comes from. And you can often find that children really enjoy cooking, preparing and eating what they've grown themselves. Another tactic is when you go food shopping, include your child in choosing healthy food, and encouraging them to help make choices, again, can give them a bit of that control back and makes them feel included in the process, which can result in them feeling more inclined to eat things that they have selected. And the first thing you can do is to involve your child in preparing and cooking meals. So children often love cooking activities. It's a great activity to do with them, and they'll often feel proud to eat meals that they've helped to create and to prepare. There are lots of easy and healthy recipes that children can get involved with, and we'll put some links to some of those at the end of this PowerPoint. So there are some other things you might want to do if you've tried all of that and your child is still demonstrating picky eating habits. Firstly, again to reiterate, please try not to worry even if your child does seem limited. So research has shown that toddlers almost always manage to eat the right balance of nutrients needed for healthy growth and development. If they attend a nursery, talk to their key person, because it might be the case that they're eating more varied foods at nursery than they are at home, and children's eating habits at nursery can be very different than when they're at home. As well, your child's nursery may also be able to share with you some of your child's favourite recipes, so that you can try these at home. If your child is losing weight, seems lethargic or irritable, or has a fever, then do please consult your doctor to rule out any underlying issues. And if you do have any concerns about your child's diet, their food intake, or their balance of nutrients that they're getting in their diet, please do contact your GP or health visitor, and they'll be able to advise you on this further. So just to reiterate, the biggest piece of advice I can give you if your child is demonstrating particular eating habits is to make mealtimes fun. So involving your child and getting them involved in choosing food and preparing it, and having those group family mealtimes can make a big impact on your child's inclination to eat. And again, although it's normal to worry, lots of parents worry about their children's eating habits, please try not to demonstrate any of this concern to your child, because they can pick up on that, and that can turn food into a battleground, and that is what you want to avoid. So I hope this has been helpful, and thank you very much. Bye.